Alright, so, welcome back to another fanfiction idea, and I got a fun one that I actually was, thinking during the move. I was thinking to myself, yeah, why haven't we gotten this? Why didn't we get this from IDW and Dark Horse? Well, actually, I could probably give you the answer, but I'll give you a minute. But, why haven't we gotten this from, IDW when they had the rights to Doctor Who with Dark Horse? And why aren't we doing it now that Titan Books, have the rights to Doctor Who? Probably because, BBC won't allow it or something like that, but who knows, maybe they'll change their mind. Anyway, so yes, this is going to be my, a fanfiction idea of a Terminator Doctor Who crossover. At first you would think, really? Doctor Who and Terminator? That's who you're going with? That's the big, crossover we're doing? That is the story we're doing? What the hell? That doesn't make any sense. When you think about it, it really does. The Doctor deals with, of course, time travel, like Terminator, and on occasion, he or she has to deal with machines. So, yeah. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense. A Terminator Doctor Who crossover would make a ton of sense. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. So, in this crossover, basically, during a time travel adventure, and if you're wondering which Doctor I'm using, I am going to be using the 12th Doctor. Nothing against the 13th Doctor. It's just that the 12th Doctor is my favorite. So this is Peter Capaldi and not Jenna, the other girl he was with at the towards the end. I'm forgetting her name, but yeah, he's with her. So is Nardole, and the three of them are going on just a vacation. The Doctor's all right, let's go on a vacation. I think it was Billy, right? Her name was Billy, if I'm not mistaken. Why am I forgetting her name? She was such a good actress. Man, it's been a while since I've watched any 12th Doctor stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, Billy, Nardole, and the Doctor are yeah, let's go on just a fun vacation. Let's just do that. We haven't had a vacation. We just escaped the Silurians. Silurian adventure. I'm just making that up. It's hey, we just survived Silurians. We need a vacation. I'll take you to a giant amusement park planet. So on their way there, they bang into something in the time stream, and and the Doctor's that's not supposed to happen. What the hell is going on there? So the Doctor finds out that what he banged into was a Terminator going back in time. And he's what the hell is that? Because that's not right. So the Doctor changes course because he's first off, I need to, Billy's wait, why are you chasing this thing? He's he banged into me. I want to get insurance. I want to trade insurance policies. So the Doctor's just chasing after it, goes back to the 80s, and it's the same T-800 from the first Terminator movie. And the Doctor goes back in time, encounters it, actually meets Sarah Connor, and when he's examining the Terminator's it sees the Doctor, and it's it knows that it's the Doctor, and the Doctor's wait, what? How does he know me? And the Terminator replies with, "You helped build Skynet," and tries to shoot him, and the Doctor's what the hell? How does it know me? How did I didn't have anything to do with Cyberdyne or Skynet. And at this point, Kyle Reese is what did you do? You built Skynet? And the Doctor's, of course, no, I didn't. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know about this thing. And Billy and Nardole are well, maybe you, in a future self, or, in the future, are going to do something. He's I would never help build a thing like this. At no point. That goes against everything I stand for. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So they managed to capture the Terminator rather than destroy it, and the Doctor, breaks into its mainframe and discovers that at some point in time, during the war between mankind and the war between man and machine, Skynet discovered the TARDIS. They discovered the TARDIS, and it turned out the Doctor had died in the war between man and machine because they had a little help. In the early days of the war, it turns out that the war in the early days of the war, the Cybermen had come down to Earth to because they saw like a point, like when the war was starting, they assisted and basically integrated technology with the Terminator. And you're already thinking that makes no sense. There's a reason for that. Turns out that, and even Kyle Reese is like, that didn't happen. The nukes went off. Terminator showed up. Connor led the resistance. This never happened. And then the Doctor's like, fuck, I get it now. Skynet has time traveled so many goddamn times because this is the first time it's traveled back to try to kill John Connor or Sarah Connor. Basically what is going on is that when Skynet found the technology or tried to reverse engineer the TARDIS, it's ripping holes in the timeline. And the Cybermen were kind of caught in that and pulled into one of these possible timelines. And from there, that is what happened, is that this is how Skynet figured out time travel, because it harnessed technology that it didn't understand, because the TARDIS is even beyond comprehension for the likes of Skynet. And it's basically like, just tried to reverse engineer the best it could with what material it had. So now every time it sends back a Terminator, it's causing another branch in the timeline. So yeah, it's basically kind of like taking the idea of what Genesis was trying to do. I'm trying to do it was trying to do the same thing of like what Genesis was trying to do, but make it a little more like make sense. Because yeah, you you mess with the timeline long enough, it's going to cause like fractures. So this is what's happening, is that the Skynet tried to use a version of time travel it got from finding technology from the TARDIS and trying to reverse engineer it and add to its own, and it keeps fucking up and keeps trying to do trying to run new routines and new missions throughout the timeline. And even the Doctor like points out that there's different timelines. I wanted to bring up there's a timeline in 2018 that the war between man and machine has just started. There's another timeline where John Connor became one with the Terminator. Of course, we're referencing Genesis. And then there's also another one of where John Connor was killed by a Terminator, and a new form called Legion was formed. So all these different timelines are running congruent, and because Skynet kept fucking with the timeline throughout. So that was the problem, and the Doctor the Doctor's like, I have to stop this, and John is like, you can't. It's inevitable. We saw one because of course he brings up the point of T2, and the other thing is that he mentions that it seems like the only thing that's really congruent with all the timelines is that the only timeline that manages to stay put is with in the events of Terminator 2. So he's like, well, that's where I gotta go, and the Doctor goes forward in time to meet a Sarah Connor who now knows who he is, and encounters another Terminator, and he's like, look, here's what's gotta happen, because he figures it out. He basically says, all right, look, here's what's got to happen. The problem is that, and I think the Doctor goes, I think I figured it out. The problem is with it is that it all leads to the Terminator killing himself after it learns all these emotions and whatnot, and it just destroys itself after it's learned all these things about humanity. My suggestion is we save that Terminator, his CPU, and leave it for Cyberdyne to reverse engineer, and that way this new version of Skynet will have a form of empathy. It'll want to protect humanity. It'll want to defend mankind. Because now it knows that humanity is precious. It now understands that humanity can be saved. It can be protected. It doesn't need to be, because inevitably Skynet will become self-aware. The Doctor says there's no stopping that. It's a fixed point. is that that Skynet will become self-aware. That's inevitable. But what we can change and what we can alter is what happens when it does become self-aware. We can change how that happens. Of course, Skynet right now in the timeline is not having any of that bullshit, and has even allied itself with the Cybermen and is building new cyber Terminators. And in return, Skynet is giving humans for more to create more Cybermen. So I wanted to also, because they would do this in a comic, I would want to make a Cyberman Terminator, a T-800 hybrid. And also, wouldn't you love to see Arnold take on a bunch of Cybermen? That that just is all around cool. That would just be all around awesome. So yeah, now we're dealing with cyber Terminators, and meanwhile, the whole point is now no longer to protect John or Sarah. It's now to protect. That's no longer the option. Now the target of interest is now the T-800 that was protecting John and Sarah. That's the new target. So through chicanery, they managed to save it. The Terminator still gets destroyed, but his CPU is left. They leave it behind where Cyberdyne can find it, and in this new future, it's a utopia, and Skynet is now because it's learned, and it was reverse engineers from a Terminator that knew about human emotion. It now understands empathy, and that the human race can be saved because there is potential for them to be good. So yeah, there you go. That is so there's my story. There is my Terminator Doctor Who story. You guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Did you guys like it, hate it? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.